The wind was soft that morning, carrying a warm scent from the forest. Caleb, a young human engineer, had come to the alien world of Virelia to help set up water systems for one of the new outposts. He was used to machines, not jungle paths. But today he wanted to explore on foot, clear his head and escape the buzzing camp full of tools and stress. He walked through tall, colorful trees that swayed gently in the breeze. The air felt different here, more alive. As he climbed a small hill, he heard the sound of flowing water nearby. Curious, he pushed through thick green vines and stepped into a quiet clearing. There, surrounded by glowing stones and steam rising from the ground, was a beautiful spring. The water looked clean and peaceful. Caleb smiled, thinking he'd found the perfect place to relax. But he was not alone. A splash, a sharp gasp. His eyes met hers for just a second. A young alien woman with pale blue-purple skin and soft white hair standing waist-deep in the spring. Her hands moved to cover herself as she stared at him in shock. "Ah, human? Turn around," she screamed. Caleb turned instantly and threw his hands over his eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone was here." She shouted something in her language, then switched to the translator tongue. "You saw me. You saw me. You are not supposed to see a noble unclothed. This is a great dishonor." He kept facing the other way, heart racing. "I swear I didn't mean to. I thought this place was empty." "You saw more than you were allowed to," she hissed. Now we are both in danger." Caleb slowly backed away, still not turning around. "I'll go. I didn't mean to cause trouble." "No," she snapped. "If you leave now and the guards find out, I'll be punished, and so will you, maybe even executed." "Executed?" Caleb blinked. "For what?" She stepped out of the water, wrapped herself in a silken cloth, and looked at him carefully. Her expression was both angry and afraid. "You don't understand, my people. I am Zarella, daughter of the High Regent. Our customs are strict. If a male sees a noble female without permission, he must either marry her, or both must be silenced to protect honor." Caleb turned around slowly, shocked. "Wait, marry you? That's the only way?" Zarella nodded. "You have touched my honor, even if by accident. My father will not listen to reason. His court only knows tradition. But I didn't even do anything." "That does not matter to them." Just then, a deep humming sound echoed through the trees. Zarella's eyes widened. "Guards. They're nearby." She grabbed Caleb's arm. Her skin was soft and cold to the touch. "We must hide." "What?" "No, I don't even know what's going on. If they see you here, the worst will happen. Come with me." "Now." Caleb hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, let's go." Zarella led him through the forest, moving faster than he expected. She was graceful, almost floating over the ground. They climbed a ridge and slipped into a small cave hidden by hanging vines. Inside, it was dark and quiet. The walls sparkled with faint crystals. Caleb sat down, breathing hard. Zarella didn't speak right away. She kept listening for sounds outside. Finally, she said, "This should keep us safe for now, but they'll be looking." Caleb looked at her, confused. "Why not just tell your father the truth, that it was a mistake?" She gave a sad smile. "My father doesn't care about truth. Only image. Only law. If word spreads that his daughter was seen in such a way by a human, he'll act quickly to protect the family's honor." Caleb shook his head. "This is crazy. On Earth, this would be a misunderstanding, embarrassing, sure, but not something people die for." Zarella's voice became softer. "Your world is kinder than mine in that way." They sat in silence for a moment. Caleb studied her face. Her features were elegant but not cold. Her pale skin glowed faintly in the cave's dim light. She looked strong but fragile at the same time. He cleared his throat. "So, what happens now?" She looked at him seriously. "Now we wait. Then we find a way to reach a neutral elder, a priestess who may help us arrange a quick union, in secret. If we perform the joining ritual, my father will be forced to accept it." "A marriage?" Between us? She nodded again. I don't like it either, human. I barely know you, but I also don't want to die. Caleb rubbed his face. Yeah, fair enough. Outside, the humming of the patrol drones faded. Inside the cave, something unspoken settled between them. Not love, not yet, but a strange respect. Two strangers caught in a situation neither wanted, but somehow they would face it together. The cave was cold, but it felt safer than the outside world. Zarella sat close to the entrance, her ears alert to every sound. Caleb sat farther back, trying to make sense of everything. A few hours ago, he was walking in the forest for some peace. Now he was hiding with an alien woman who said they must marry or die. He rubbed his hands together. Do all your people follow these strict customs? Zarella nodded slowly. Yes, especially the nobles. The honor of a high family is everything to them. Even something small can cause disgrace. Caleb leaned against the cave wall. So let me get this straight. I saw you by mistake. Now we either marry, or your father will send people to silence us both? Yes, she said, looking tired. But there is a way. If we reach the Temple of Vowkeepers, they can perform a binding union. Once we complete it, no one can stop it, not even my father. Where is this temple? About 2 mountain passes from here, maybe 3 days on foot. Caleb sighed. And if your guards catch us before then? They'll take me back. You'll disappear. Her voice dropped at the last word. He didn't need a translator to understand what that meant. Zarella turned to him. Why were you even in that forest, Spring? Humans usually stay close to the work zones. I was just walking, he said. I needed a break from machines and schedules. I thought I found a peaceful spot. I had no idea it was sacred or private. She stared at him, her expression softer than before. You're strange. Caleb raised an eyebrow. Thanks. I don't mean bad strange, I mean different. Honest. Most aliens I meet are full of pride. You're just calm. He gave a short laugh. Calm? I'm shaking inside. That made her smile slightly, and for the first time the tension between them eased. Later that night they made a small fire using dried moss and glowing stones that Zarella found nearby. She roasted some blue fruits she had in a pouch and offered Caleb one. He bit into it carefully. It tasted like a mix of apple and honey. Not bad, he said. I used to pick these with my sister when we were children, she said, looking at the flames. Back when life was simple. You have a sister? She died. A sickness spread through the city last year. Father was away in the Sky Palace and Mother was too busy with court matters. Only I stayed by her side. She looked down. She always said she wanted to marry someone kind, someone who listened. Caleb didn't know what to say. I'm sorry. Zarella nodded, wrapping her arms around herself. Since then, I stopped believing in arranged unions. But in my world, choice is not always ours. They sat in silence for a while. Then Caleb asked, Do you really want to do this? Marry a human just to escape punishment? Zarella looked at him seriously. I don't know you, Caleb, but I know you didn't mean harm. And I believe you're not cruel. That matters more than status or blood. He looked at the fire again. I never thought I'd be in this situation, marrying a royal alien girl just to stay alive. Zarella smirked. You think this is strange for you? I have to explain to my people that I chose a human over a noble warrior. They both laughed quietly. The next morning, they packed up and began the journey toward the mountains. The path was narrow and slippery in places, with glowing vines and creatures that watched from the trees. Zarella led the way with confidence, and Caleb followed close behind. As the sun rose, the air became warmer. Birds with crystal wings flew above them. Caleb found himself admiring the world around him. At one point, they had to cross a hanging root bridge over a deep ravine. Caleb's hands sweated as he moved across slowly. "Don't look down," Zarella warned from the other side. "Too late," Caleb muttered. Halfway through, one of the roots snapped under his foot. He slipped, grabbing the sides with both hands. "Caleb," Zarella shouted. "I'm okay," he gasped. She ran onto the bridge, ignoring the danger. She reached out and helped pull him back to his feet. "Are you hurt?" "No. Just my pride." She didn't let go of his hand for a long time. That night, they camped by a warm rock wall that gave off natural heat. Zarella sat beside him, staring at the stars above. "Our people look at the same stars," she whispered, "but live such different lives." Caleb looked at her. "Maybe this is the universe's way of fixing that." Zarella didn't reply, but her eyes stayed on his a little longer. The wind howled gently through the mountain pass, and as they rested, two lives from two different worlds began to feel not so far apart anymore. The next sunrise painted the mountain peaks gold. Caleb woke to the smell of damp earth and heard Zarella humming softly as she packed her small satchel. Even in danger, she kept calm. Caleb admired that. "Good morning," he said, stretching his sore arms. Zarella smiled. "We should leave early. The patrol drones search hardest at midday. If we cross the second ridge before then, we'll be harder to track." Caleb nodded. He still felt strange. A simple engineer turned fugitive. Groom. Yet the longer he walked with Zarella, the less impossible the situation seemed. The first warning, they followed a narrow path that wound upward between shining blue ferns. Tiny insects buzzed in the air like sparks. Suddenly Zarella stopped and raised a hand. A distant hum drifted through the valley behind them. "Drone," she whispered. Caleb's heart quickened. "Can it see through trees?" "At this distance, yes. We need cover." She led him off the trail into dense undergrowth. They crouched beneath thick leaves while the silver machine floated above the canopy. A red scanner swept the area. Caleb held his breath. Zarella's hand rested on his shoulder, steady yet tense. The drone paused, then drifted on. Its hum softened until it vanished into the sky. Only when silence returned did Zarella exhale. "That was close," Caleb said. "It will report movement," she replied. "More soldiers will follow the signal." Across the glass plain by late morning, they reached a strange plateau of crystal sand. Each grain reflected sunlight like tiny mirrors, dazzling and hot. There was no tree cover, just open ground stretching to a cliff on the far side. Zarella shaded her eyes. "We must hurry. Tracks here are obvious." Caleb tasted dust on his lips as they crossed. His boots slid on the glittering surface, but Zarella moved lightly, almost dancing from rock to rock. Halfway across, she pointed to the sky. Two dark specks grew larger. Rapid response scouts. "Run!" she shouted. They sprinted. Caleb's lungs burned. The scouts dove fast, engines screaming. Blasts of air kicked up swirling clouds of crystal, sand that cut at their faces. Caleb spotted a jagged crack in the cliff wall ahead. An old lava tube, perhaps. "This way!" he yelled. Zarella dashed after him. A scout's spotlight flashed, locking onto them. A siren wailed. Caleb pushed. Harder. They reached the crack and squeezed inside just as the ground behind them exploded in a burst of concussive sound. Shards rattled off the tunnel walls, but the narrow passage shielded them. Darkness swallowed the noise. They kept moving until only their breaths echoed. A moment in the dark. The tunnel sloped downward, cool and silent. Caleb touched the wall. Crystals glowed faintly under his fingers, casting pale light. They stopped to catch breath. Zarella pressed her back to the stone and closed her eyes. "Are you hurt?" Caleb asked. "Only tired," she whispered. He noticed a shallow cut on her arm where flying sand had sliced her skin. Carefully, he tore a strip from his sleeve and wrapped it around the wound. "Thank you," she murmured. Caleb found himself, smiling. Engineers know a little first aid. Zarella's violet eyes met his. In that dim glow, she looked almost human. Only the gently pointed ears and soft blue-purple skin reminded him she was from another world. "I never believed humans were weak," she said quietly. "But today you proved stronger than many warriors I know." Caleb felt heat rise to his cheeks. "I'm just doing what anyone would." She shook her head. "Not anyone. Most would leave me and run." A heavy silence lingered. Footsteps, breathing, heartbeat, all sounded loud down here. The cliff of mirrors. The tunnel ended at another gap opening onto a sheer drop. Far below shimmered a river of molten silver, liquid metal carried from the planet's core. A thin ledge curved along the cliff face toward a forested slope. Zarella frowned. "I forgot this lava tube ends here. We have to cross the ledge." Caleb peered over the edge and swallowed hard. One wrong step meant a fatal fall, but staying meant capture. "I'll go first," he said. Carefully, he placed one foot on the ledge. It was only as wide as his boot. The rock crumbled in places. He moved sideways, back pressed to the wall, inch by inch. Zarella followed, gripping the stone with steady hands. Halfway across, a rumble shook the cliff. Another patrol ship passing overhead. Rocks loosened. A chunk broke off under Zarella's foot. She slipped, arms flailing. "Zarella!" Caleb shouted. He lunged, catching her wrist just as she fell. The jolt nearly dragged him over the edge, but he braced his other hand against a protruding ridge. Muscles burned. Sweat stung his eyes. "Hold on!" he gritted. Zarella's wide eyes filled with fear. Trust. Hope. Using all his strength, Caleb hauled her back onto the ledge. They pressed together against the wall, shaking. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Zarella whispered, "You saved my life." Caleb managed a shaky laugh. "Let's finish crossing before my legs quit." They moved again, slower, until finally the ledge widened into a safe platform. Grass greeted their feet, and trees offered shade. Caleb collapsed, breathing deep gulps of cool air. Zarella knelt beside him. "Your arm is bleeding." He looked down. Sharp rock had cut through his shirt, leaving a line of red. Zarella tore a strip from her own sash and bandaged him with gentle fingers. "Now we are even," she said softly. Fires on the horizon, as twilight painted the sky purple. They reached a ridge that overlooked the final valley. In the distance, lights flickered against dark trees, torches and energy lamps marking troop encampments. Zarella's face tightened. Father's hunters. They blocked the direct path. Caleb studied the map on his wrist device. "We can circle east through those wetlands. Adds a day but avoids the checkpoints." Zarella traced the route with a fingertip. "Marshland beasts. Roam there at night. Better hungry animals than armed soldiers," he said. She gave a reluctant nod. "You truly are fearless." He smiled tiredly. "I'm actually terrified. I just don't show it." For the first time, Zarella laughed, freely. The sound echoed in the quiet hills and made Caleb's chest feel light. Shared promise, they built a small hidden camp beneath a fallen tree. Stars glittered overhead. Caleb finished adjusting a makeshift alarm, a string of metal scraps that would clatter if someone approached. Zarella watched, impressed. "Human ingenuity," she teased. "Old scavenger trick," he replied. "Keeps curious wildlife away, too." She sat beside him by a tiny ember fire. "Whatever happens tomorrow, thank you, Caleb." He looked at her. "We'll reach the temple. I promise." Zarella extended her hand. Caleb took it. Their fingers locked with surprising ease. "Together," she said. "Together," he echoed. Above them, meteors streaked across the night sky. For a brief moment, the world felt wide and hopeful, despite the danger closing in. Two unlikely companions had forged a bond stronger than fear. And the journey to the Temple of Vowkeepers would test that bond even further. Dawn drifted in gray and silent across the marshlands. Thin fog curled over black water, and hidden creatures called with low, flute-like voices. Caleb and Zarella rose quietly from their small camp beneath the fallen tree. Both felt the weight of little sleep and long danger, yet both carried fresh resolve. Ahead, beyond this maze of tall reeds and mirror pools, lay the last ridge, and on its other side, the Temple of Vowkeepers. Zarella studied the sky. "If we move fast, We can reach the temple gates before evening prayers, she said. During prayers, guards are fewer. We may enter unseen. Caleb nodded. Then we move fast. Crossing the ghost marsh, their path wound over narrow strips of firm ground and shaky root bridges. With every step, mud sucked at their boots. Once, a pale, eel shape snapped at Caleb's leg, but Zarella lashed out with her walking staff, driving it back beneath the water. They pressed on, boots and dress soaked yet spirits unbroken. Near midday, thunder cracked. Patrol airships swept low, searching the marsh with bright beams. Caleb dragged Zarella beneath a fallen log, just as yellow light skimmed the waters, skin above their heads. The beams passed. Nightbirds scattered. Silence closed again. Zarella breathed out. That was too close. Close is still alive, Caleb said, offering a grin though his heart pounded hard. They hurried on until solid ground rose into forest. There, under thick branches, they paused. Caleb shared the last of his ration bars. Zarella passed him sweet blue fruit to ease the bitter taste. For a moment they ate like quiet friends, not fugitives. Arrival at the temple steps late afternoon light bathed the ridge as they climbed. At the summit, stone towers appeared, tall, serene, and silver beneath the sun. Bells chimed softly in. The wind. The temple of vow-keepers welcomed all who sought binding oaths, but heavy gates and carved guardians still protected its sacred halls. We made it, Caleb whispered, awe in his voice. Zarella's eyes shone. One last test. We need the High Sister's blessing. She alone can seal a union without my father's approval. Together they stepped from forest shadow onto the open stone court. Immediately soldiers burst from behind statues, half a dozen armored guards in regal crimson. Crossbows crackled with energy nets. Zarella of House Raylis, the captain, barked. By order of the High Regent, you are to return at once. The human is to be confined for judgment. Zarella pushed in front of Caleb. Stand down. I come under temple protection. The captain sneered. Protection does not extend to dishonor. But Caleb was already moving. He dropped to one knee, voice loud. I request sanctuary, holy ground. Trial before neutral ears. The sudden, formal claim froze the soldiers. Around them, robed acolytes hurried out, and the great bronze doors of the temple swung open. A tall woman in white and gold emerged, High Sister Sariel, keeper of oaths. Her calm gaze swept the court. What turmoil disturbed sacred stone? The captain bowed stiffly. High Sister, a grievous breach. This human saw the Lady Zarella in immodesty. He refuses penalty. The regent demands both be silenced, lest shame spread. Sariel turned to Zarella. Child, do you invoke union by choice? Zarella stood straighter. I do, great keeper. I seek binding with the human Caleb of full heart and free will. Gasps moved through guard ranks. The captain stepped back unsure. Sariel looked to Caleb. And you, human, do you accept? Caleb met her eyes. I do. Not for fear, but respect. Then, Sariel said, voice ringing like clear bells. By ancient law, this claim overrides parental ward. The regent may contest only in open council, not with blades at temple gates. Guards, lay down arms or violate oath yourselves. Faced with spiritual authority, the soldiers hesitated. Finally, the captain lowered his crossbow. One by one, the others followed. Sariel gestured. Bring them inside. Judgment shall be spoken in the Hall of Echoes. Inside the Hall of Echoes, the hall was vast, columns of pearl stone rising into shadow. Voices there carried far, forcing honesty. The council assembled, Sister Sariel, 4 elder monks, and by remote hololink, the image of the High Regent himself, Zarella's father. His broad face flickered blue in the light. Daughter, he thundered, you shame us. Abandon this madness and return. Zarella knelt. Father, I acted with honor. The human saved my life thrice. I choose him freely. Your choice is an illusion, the regent roared. This primitive tricks you. Caleb stepped forward. Sir, I never tricked your daughter. My stumble was accident. I stand ready to face any test of honor you name. The elders conferred. Sister Serial raised a hand. Let truth decide. The pool of voices reveals deceit. A shallow basin filled with silver water was brought. Anyone speaking falsehood above it would cause ripples. Caleb placed his hand over the pool. I swear I never sought to view Lady Zarella unclothed. It was mistake. When danger came, I chose to protect her. The water remained smooth. Zarella pressed her palm next. I swear I choose Caleb not from fear, but from respect and budding affection. The surface stayed still. All eyes turned to the regent's hollow. He hesitated, then thundered, I want only to guard my daughter's honor. The water trembled, faint ripples spreading, a sign of hidden motive. Gasps filled the hall. Sister Serial bowed her head. Truth is spoken. The father's pride weighs more than protection. Temple law stands. The union may proceed. The binding oath golden lamps were lit. A circle of white sand marked sacred ground. Caleb and Zarella faced each other, hands linked. Sister. Serial chanted simple words. Two paths met by chance now walk one road by choice. Let courage be foundation, let respect be walls, let hope be roof. She placed a braid of red and silver thread around their clasped hands, then cut it in half, one piece for each to wear. By temple decree, she concluded, you are bound. Let no sword nor pride break what will now grow. The moment felt heavy, yet bright. Caleb met Zarella's violet gaze. She smiled. Small, uncertain, but real. From the far end of the hall, the regent's hollow faded without another word. Outside, the guards withdrew, bound by law to accept the outcome until formal council could revisit it. Yet everyone knew, public reversal after the pool's judgment would stain the regent more than any hidden scandal. A quiet victory night settled over the temple complex. Lanterns glowed along terrace gardens. Caleb and Zarella stood on a balcony overlooking mountains now peaceful under starlight. It's done, Caleb murmured. Zarella touched the half-thread on her wrist. Yes. Father will be furious, but he cannot change it easily. You saved us both today. Again. Caleb shook his head. We saved each other, and we still have much to learn. She laughed softly. Including how to be married? Especially that, he answered, smiling. Below, temple bells chimed the hour of peace. In their gentle song, two unlikely partners felt the first calm breath since that distant morning by the hot spring. Tomorrow would bring new trials, politics, whispers, even danger. But tonight, they shared a quiet victory carved by courage, honesty, and the brave hope that different worlds could join. Without war. Morning air drifted cool and sweet across the temple terraces. Caleb woke before sunrise, still amazed by the silver thread on his wrist. In the quiet room where guests slept, he watched Zarella breathe softly beside the open window. A new day, and a new life had come faster than any machine he ever built. He stepped outside. Birds with crystal wings glided over garden ponds. Yet peace was thin. At the bottom gate he saw red banners, signs of Zarella's father's personal guard. They had set up a camp overnight. Spears of bright energy flashed with each turn of the sentries. Sister Serial met him on the path. The High Regent himself marches here, she warned. He cannot break the union, but he can stir trouble. Be ready. Caleb nodded. Trouble was expected, but he was done running. The regent arrives. By mid-morning, the great doors of the Hall of Echoes opened again. The regent strode in, armor polished like a dark mirror. His advisors followed, faces stern. Zarella entered from the opposite side with Caleb and Sister Serial at her back. The temple has made its ruling, Serial said calmly. Speak only if you seek peace. The regent's eyes blazed. I seek respect. My house faces ridicule because a human broke our oldest law. Caleb stepped forward. Heart thumped, yet voice stayed firm. Sir, laws guide people, but people can guide laws too. Let us prove that this union brings honor, not shame. Talk is cheap, the regent snapped. Show me one reason why your presence should not stain my banner forever. Caleb thought quickly. Then he smiled. Give me one day. If I cannot raise our honor, I will leave Veralia and free Zarella from her vow. Zarella's breath caught, but Caleb squeezed her hand in secret. Trust me, his look said. The regent considered. Pride liked wagers. Witnesses waited. At last he nodded once. One day, then judgment. The water crisis, Caleb's mind raced. Honor here meant deeds. He needed a problem big enough to impress, a planet. Sister Serial provided the answer. The ancient Ridge Aqueduct, main water line for 3 noble districts, had cracked weeks ago. Engineers of the court still argued about repairs while ration rules tightened daily. Fix that aqueduct, Serial advised, and you save thousands from drought. Caleb's engineer heart leapt. I'll need tools, and I'll need them, fast. Zarella insisted on joining. Where you go, I go, she said. They collected a hover cart of parts from temple stores, valve rings, seal paste, simple weld wands. Zarella added her father's emblem so guards would let them pass. Race. Against time. The aqueduct sprawled along the cliff east of the capital city. Water sprayed from a long, jagged crack, forming white mist that shimmered in the sun. Below, fields turned dry as sand. Caleb crawled along the narrow wall with safety lines. Zarella nodded. He measured, mapped, and marked while wind tugged at his clothes. He designed a sliding clamp from spare alloy rails, then cut and shaped them by hand. Sweat burned his eyes. Zarella fed code commands into a mini forge to mold gasket plates. Her fingers moved quick and sure. Court lessons in fine art now served practical need. By midday, they had all pieces. Caleb guided the heavy clamp over the crack. Zarella locked bolts on the far side, but water pressure still pushed hard, threatening to explode the joint. Release flow upstream, Zarella shouted. Valves are jammed, Caleb called back. Thinking fast, he remembered old turbo pump theory. Pressure drops with temporary outflow path. He plunged a long vent pipe through, a maintenance hatch. Water gushed into a rocky chute, harmless below. Pressure fell. The crack stopped widening. They sealed it with paste that hardened like steel under sunlight. After hours of work, Caleb cranked the main gate. Water surged smoothly along the channel, once more sparkling like liquid glass. Cheers rose from farmers on distant terraces. Zarella laughed with pure relief. Caleb just sat on the warm stone, exhausted but proud. Honor proven back at the temple. Evening drums called assembly. Nobles, soldiers, monks, and common folk crowded the marble court. Sister Serial announced what the valley already whispered. The water flows again. Hunger is kept at bay, thanks to Caleb of Earth and Lady Zarella, who risked life upon the Great Wall. The regent stepped forward, forced to face a sea of grateful faces. Pride warred with reason. Finally, he bowed, small, stiff, yet true. Honor stands restored, he declared. Let records show my daughter's union has strengthened House Raylis and all of Veralia. Shouts of approval echoed under the arches. Farmers tossed blue petals into the air. Bells rang. Zarella looked at Caleb, eyes bright with tears. You did it. We did, he corrected, wiping dust from her cheek. The regent approached them. His gaze still held iron, but now, it also held respect. Human, your skill saved my people. You have my blessing. He turned to Zarella softer. And my apology for not trusting your choice. Zarella's voice trembled but steady. Thank you, Father. A new path that night, lanterns lit, the temple gardens in gold and rose. Music drifted, dancers spun, children chased each other between pillars. Caleb and Zarella walked a quiet walkway under flowering vines. So, Caleb asked, what does a married life between worlds look like? Busy, Zarella laughed. My people will want to learn human methods. Your engineers will want our crystal tech. We'll travel much. Caleb chuckled. I was tired of one planet anyway. She stopped, taking both his hands. You offered to leave Virelia for my sake this morning. That was brave and foolish. I would have hated every moment away from you, he admitted. Then stay, she whispered, standing on tiptoe to kiss his cheek. Soft, quick, honest. Stay and help me build something better. Caleb's heart warmed. Yes, princess. Not princess, she teased. Partner. They stood beneath the hanging flowers, new thread bracelets glinting side by side. Above, twin moons crossed, forming a silver ring in the night sky. An omen, Monk said, of lasting unions. Epilogue. Ripples across the stars weeks later. Hollow news across the quadrant carried the headline. First human Virelian royal union saves. Water crisis. Cooperation era begins. Scholars debated new trade. Artists sang of the engineer and the noble who changed fate with courage and kindness. In a bright workshop overlooking Green Hills, Caleb and Zarella sketched plans for a shared academy of sciences and art. Humans and Virelians would study side by side. The couple disagreed often, Caleb's practical bolts versus Zarella's elegant curves, but laughter always won. Whenever visitors asked how it began, Caleb shrugged. I took a wrong turn on a morning walk. Zarella added, smiling, and I met the right human at the wrong moment. Together they proved that one accident, met with honor and hope, could join two worlds, and that sometimes the universe writes its greatest stories with simple hearts who dare to do what is right.